Good morning out there. This is K4VWD calling CQ, the old friend's net, a strictly AM net. We meet on this frequency of 3715 approximately 3 times a week. Thursday mornings 9 o'clock, Tuesday mornings 9 o'clock, and Sunday evenings at 6:30. Everybody who can generate an AM signal is welcome. CQ, the old friend's net. This is K4VWD. It is 65 degrees and the sun's shining here at my house in Greenville, South Carolina. So, CQ, the old friend's net, and I will stand by for calls.
N4LQ.
ARK.
KN4R.
WB4NKL.
K4JAL.
Okay, stand by a minute. There was a double right after Steve and before Brian, and I missed them both. So there were 2 calls right after Steve, and please try again. This is K4VWD. WB4ARK.
I got that. That was NC4ON, Stefan, and WB4ARK.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Well, I missed Stefan. I see his signal, but I couldn't copy him. But I copied Buddy just fine. So far, I got LQ, ON, ARK, R, NKL, and JAL. Who else do we have?
W4KR.
Okay, got KR. Anybody else? Don't hear any. I wonder if anybody, this is K4VWD, I wonder if anybody has talked to Dave since he's been home from the hospital. I sure hope he's doing all right. So we'll get started here, and Steve, you're number 1. And then we got Stefan and Buddy and Brian and Cliff and Jimmy and Stan. So, N4LQ in the group, K4VWD.
Okay, K4VWD in the group, N4LQ. Yeah, I was up on 3885 with another gang, and they experienced a sudden band change, and all of a sudden everybody got real weak. So I think there is probably one of Dave's corona mass ejections or something took place. Stefan was really weak, so must be something out that way. Anyway, hope you can copy me, Stefan. Over to you, NC4ON, N4LQ.
Yes, Roger, Steve, and 4LQ, NC4ON, yes, you're coming in beautiful, no problem. I hear you loud and clear, so I hope you do as well. But indeed, the signals are definitely weaker than normal. So I usually give you 10 to 15 over, and not this morning, we're at 6 or 7 at the moment. But anyway, thank you for doing the net this morning, and I'm happy to be here. It's 64 degrees in Denver, and I usually like to do 50 at the end of my All right, so this is Buddy there, W4ARK and Q4ON. Go ahead.
Buddy, let me have it a minute. Go ahead. Stefan, you got a 30 over carrier and no audio. I could not hear a word you said, so you need to check your modulation. Go ahead, buddy. WB4ARK, K4VWD.
K4VWD, WB4ARK, that's the case here with Stefan's signal. Fairly good signal, but very, very, very weak audio. I could tell he was saying something, but that was about it. So, today, beautiful blue sky, cool outside, lots of sun coming up over the east, and I missed Charlie. I was wondering what his intentions are regarding the ART-13. He mentioned something on the Tuesday net about maybe coming by here, so I don't know what the situation is there. I did notice on the bottom of the cover for this ART-13, Bob Lackey, W4QBE, from Georgia area, Rabun, R-A-B-U-N, County, Georgia, in 2009, wrote a little note, says, I wonder who will ever see this. And of course it was on the inside of the cover, and you wouldn't see it unless you took the cover off. Now I looked him up on QRZ, and he seems to be still listed. Of course that doesn't mean anything. He'd be 91 years old, I guess. Wonder if anybody knows him or has had any dealings with him in the past. Just curious about that. I'm sure he did not do the work on this unit that's been done, this shoddy work, but I'm sure it's been around since 2009 through several hands. So with that, we will turn it over to KN4R, WB4ARK.
Okay, buddy. Very good. WB4ARK and the Thursday Old Friends. This is Brian, KN4R, Cheryl's Ford, where it's 65 degrees right now, and the wind's very still. So it's going to be a great day to work outside today. So everybody's coming through fine. I second on Stefan. Great signal, but very little audio. So hopefully he'll be able to tweak that up. And Dave mentioned something on email, Lee, that he was doing well. He's back from the hospital and doing well, but that's kind of stale information at this point. So I was hoping he would be in here with his flea power rig, but hopefully he's listening this morning. And if so, he certainly has all our regards there. So, and the name Bob Lackey sounds familiar. I missed his call. I had to step out of the room, but I don't know him personally, I don't think. So, anyway, over to you, Cliff, WB4NK. Oh, by the way, I'm on the Globe Champ, and I'm listening on an NC101X this morning. So, over to you, Cliff, WB4NKL in the group, KN4R.
KN4R, it's WB4NKL. Okay, I hope Dave's doing okay, and maybe he'll be able to get in here with us before long, hopefully. Running the DX-100 here this morning, not quite as much power, and was a big change in the signal levels. Copying everybody except Stefan, I couldn't quite pull him in. But all the other signals are a little weaker than normal, seems like. Took a pretty good hit there in the propagation. 57 here, and I need to get out and finish some yard work. Still recovering from the COVID, which I haven't had any problems. The wife had a little more complication. Well, not complications. She just didn't. She felt rough a couple of days, but she's doing much better there now. So hopefully we're on the way over the COVID, such as it was. Send it on around. Go ahead, Jimmy. K4 JAL, WB4NKL.
WB4NKL, K4JAL. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better, Cliff. It shouldn't happen to a dog, but it did. I'm curious about David, too. I might give him a call after a while, but I hate to call somebody that's not feeling well. That's the last thing you need is jawbone. I might do it anyway. I'm worried about it. I'm on the 32V, of course, running barefoot out through my Cobra, and imagine I'm getting out as good as anybody else. There you go. W4KR, K4JAL. Over to you, Stanley.
Okay, Jimmy. K4JAL in the early morning. Old Friends Group Thursday meeting, W4KR, Walhalla. Well, it's about 64, 65 degrees here right now. I'm on the Viking 2 this morning, and the band is down. Cliff, you were the heavy hitter on the S meter on a 75 A2. You were an S9. Everybody was down a little bit below that, and Jimmy, you were above the noise, but not a whole lot. So, and you're usually romping in here. So, yeah, conditions are strange. As far as Bob Lackey goes, Rabun County, that's just across the border from us here, Clayton, the Clayton, Georgia area. And I think he lived just a little bit north of Clayton, lives a little bit just north of Clayton. I know the name, I've heard the name mentioned by some other locals over there. That's about, they're about 20 miles west of us. But I haven't heard anything, in the last 3-4 years. So, yeah, I understand he's still there, but that's what I know, buddy. Anyway, glad to hear that Dave is home, and we'll go it from there. Anyway, Lee, back it comes. K4VWD and the Old Friends Group, W4KR.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, y'all, I hope y'all are copying me. I'm only running about 35 watts, maybe 38. So anyway, I hope y'all are copying me okay. Take a quick standby. Do we have somebody else that wants to join us? Please call me now.
KZ4 Bravo.
Hey, John, good morning. Go ahead and make a transmission and turn it back to me, please.
Okay, K4VWD in the group, KZ4B. I've got that switching power supply sitting right on this frequency, so I had trouble hearing when you first called the net. I could not copy you at all, and so that's why I didn't check in. I didn't hear it for several days, but it's back. So, I've got noise issues in my noisy neighborhood, and that's what's going on here. I am on a different antenna from what I've been operating on. I'm on my G5RV that's cut for 160 meters. It's about 200 feet overall length, and it's fed with ladder line. So it's not quite as lossy as far as the other resonant dipole is fed with coax, and it's a long run. But the tuner is probably off frequency. I'm tried going to a horizontal loop, which I can't seem to get it to resonate on 80 meters. So that should be a quieter antenna, but I can't get it to resonate with the tuner. So that plan B did not work. I'm going to sign out on this one because I am having a hard time hearing. If the switching power supply drifts back onto this frequency, then I can't copy hardly anybody. It's a very loud buzzing sound. So I am going to sign off, but at the moment it has drifted off frequency so I can hear. So back to you, Lee, and I hope thanks for calling the net, and everybody have a great week. K4VWD in the group, this is KZ4, be clear but trying to listen.
Okay, John, very good. This is K4VWD. Well, you've taken my S-meter. You got a great signal here in Greenville today, and I'm sorry about your noise. Do we have anybody else that wants to join us? If so, please call me now. I heard a carrier on John's signal, but nobody's checking in. Are there any fills? Did anybody hear anybody? I guess not. All right. Well, that was a good round. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 9 in here this morning, and it's sure good to hear everybody. And so we'll start it around again, and I'm sorry they had trouble up there at the Over the Hill gang at 3885 this morning, but I'm glad everybody's on here now. So Steve, go ahead, man. It's sure good to hear you. You're doing good. N4LQ in the group, K4VWD.
Okay, Lee, K4VWD in the group, N4LQ in Shelby. Running the DX-60 this morning and the D104 mic, and into the amplifier about let me see here, 250 or so carrier. Anyway, Jimmy, you sound a lot better now on that 32V. That Kenwood had some kind of a weird, I don't know, kind of a rumble sound when you started talking every time. I can't really describe it, and I didn't record it, so I just have to take my word for it. But your modulation sounds much better now. And Stefan, yeah, you had a big signal here. You were 10 over 9, but just no audio to speak of. I could hear a little bit of it, but I couldn't even understand. I think you did say you were running a Kenwood. So, and let's see, John, his signal is as strong as I've ever heard you here. You're 10 over 9, good and loud, and beautiful audio. So, not sure what the problem there is with that switching power supply. The loop antenna, that's what I'm using here. One thing you don't want to do is use a 4-to-1 balun. That'll take that already low impedance and step it down to where it's super low, and a lot of tuners don't like that. So check that out. You need a 1-to-1 balun, or even no balun at all, and just run it straight into between ground and the center pin of the tuner would do better than that. You might get a little RF on things, but yeah, just a choke. If you got a common mode choke, that'll do for your 1-to-1 balun. It doesn't take a whole lot. And I did look up this Lackey, Bob Lackey, found an obituary for his XYL from last year. Helen Lackey died, she was age 90, and it says she's survived by her husband, so I guess he's still kicking, maybe. And over to Stefan for another try. Crank it up, Stefan. NC40N, N4LQ.
Yeah, Roger, Steve. Okay, is this better, Steve? You hear me now?
Oh, yeah, that's much better.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. This is my second attempt. I apologize. I don't know. I played with this radio yesterday, and I thought I had it all good set in sideband, but for AM it wasn't good enough. So it seems like there's a little curse every time I come on this net. For some reason, I struggle getting my audio up to a level that everybody can hear me. All right, so thank you again, Lee, for doing the net. I copy you just beautiful with 30 watts, coming in beautiful here in Denver, no problem. All right, I just dropped the mic here. But you're coming in beautiful, no problem whatsoever. And good morning, Brian there, good to hear you. And Steve, that DX-60 sounds beautiful, really, really good with the D104. All right, I'll send it over to Buddy now. Hopefully you can hear me better. WB4ARK and the group NC4ON. Go ahead.
NC4ON, WB4ARK. Yeah, perfect signal. Stefan, the audio's really smooth. Well, thanks for the report on Bob Lackey. I've heard the name before, but I don't remember meeting him. Could have been at a ham fest somewhere. Anyway, everybody's signal is still really strong. Jimmy, your signal was probably the weakest. I thought your 32V usually had a better signal coming in to Lake Wylie, but it wasn't that way today, and maybe it's the band conditions. But not much going on here, just doing a few touch-ups here on this ART13, mostly cosmetic stuff. I've got to replace the RF ammeter, which I'm waiting on one to come in. And that's about it for this unit. It's turned out better than I thought it would at first when I saw the springs on the auto-tune Paul system had been bent in such a bad configuration. And I thought that I would never get those straightened out or even workable, and I was able to do it. Did not have to replace a single unit. They all cleaned up quite well, and they all lock in properly now. So that's the story, the final story on this unit. It's about, I guess, a little below average for the front panel. The part that covers the auto-tune controls is a little, it's got a little paint flaking on it. So that is the worst, I guess you might say, of the cosmetic appearance of the unit. And there's a few screws missing on the area where the cables couple in. And let's see, that's about it. Everything else is original inside, and it functions quite well, so as you can hear. Well, I guess that's it. Final report on the ART13. So we'll turn it over to KN4R. Brian, this is WB4ARK.
Okay, buddy. Very good. WB4ARK. WB4ARK in the group, KN4R returning. Well, very good, buddy. ART13 sounds great, so I wouldn't call it below average at all. And I'm assuming that was Charlie's, and going back to Charlie. If so, he's getting a good one there. So, and Stefan, great to hear you this morning. The audio sounded really good now. So, Steve, DX-60 sounds terrific. And Jimmy, your 32V sounds good as well. And of course, I'm copying everybody else just fine as well. So, let's see. don't have much more here. John, KZ4B, of course, is my neighbor, so he was just booming in over here. So anyway, I don't have anything else. I got to get going here. I might even put up an antenna today for 160. Not sure yet. So back over to you, Cliff, and tell us more about Kutztown. What did you see up there? WB4NKL in the group, KN4R.
KN4R. It's WB4NKL. Okay, Brian. Well, I had a good trip to Kutztown. I brought back the COVID, which was unfortunate, but besides for that, everything was good. I didn't see too many unusual boat anchors. I did buy a Johnson Navigator. You don't see those too often, and that's about it. But didn't see anything else that really tempted me. But there was a big crowd. That meet is one of the antique radio meets, but it seems to keep growing. They keep filling up the sheds and selling out of spaces every year, and they're pretty much filled up. So it's good to see something grow instead of going the other way. I've been playing around with the Navigator. I've got it cleaned up and started on the electrical end of it. It's got the original meter, but I can see why everybody probably replaced that meter as soon as they found one, because it takes it about 3 seconds to settle down. You can in the grid or the plate, when you key it, it just wiggles back and forth, one of those Sure-Right type movements, and about 3 seconds it'll settle down where you can actually use it to tune with. So but I'll keep it because it's original. It says Johnson on the meter face and matches the rest of the transmitter. I've got power out with Crystal, but I've got some VFO trouble, so I'm gonna have to dig into the VFO and see what's going on with it. It works okay on 40, except the drive's low, and then on 75 it's way off frequency. So much that the transmitter won't even tune up. It's like a half megacycle off from where it's supposed to be. So I think some of these were kits. This one looks well put together, but it's possible somebody put the wrong value capacitor in the VFO, which I'll tear into and find out. So send it on around. Go ahead, Jimmy. You're sounding good over here. K4JAL, WB4NKL.
WB4NKL, K4JAL. Well, I ran the modulation up a little bit. Maybe that helped. I don't know. I'm running out of things to say, and I got a lot to do. I'm probably going to 7.3 on this one and listen. If it improved my signal strength, though, somebody let me know. W4KR, K4JAL, 7.3 and listening.
Okay, Jimmy, K4JAL, W4KR. Audio sounds a lot better, Jimmy. Sounds good. You were running about between S8 and S9. Cliff, that time you were just about 10 over, so it's whatever the propagation was doing earlier, it's cleaned up a little bit. And I'm going to have to sign with this one too. I got a ton of outside work I got to get at. I've been dogging it here the last few weeks, doing other stuff, but I got to get outside and do some weed whacking. A lot of stuff is growing like crazy this summer, and I got to get rid of a whole bunch. Let's see what else is going. Okay, we don't know about Dave yet, but we'll see. Buddy, sounds like that ART-13 has been a real challenge, but you got it. Congratulations. I've thought about one. I've thought about an ART-13 every once in a while, but I've never found one actually. So with that, I'm going to say 7.3s. Good morning, everybody. Lord willing, we'll see you. I'm looking ahead. Nope, not going to be here Sunday evening. We're going to be away Sunday evening. So catch y'all latter part of next week. back to you, Lee, and take care and have a good day. Lee, you were romping and stomping signal-wise, too. K4VWD in the Old Friends Group, W4KR. Take care.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you. And I hope you have a good weekend. I sure do, a blessed weekend for sure. And Stefan, you did a whole lot better. I understood you 100% that time. And Jimmy, you're pegging my estimator here in Greenville. Now, let's see, the last three have signed out. Jimmy, Stan, and John have all signed out. So, Cliff, you'll turn it back to me. Let me take a quick standby. We got any late check-ins? Please call me now.
Yeah, W4MEC is being late.
Hey, Charlie, good morning. Boy, it's sure good to hear you. You're number 10. Go ahead and make a transmission and turn it back to me, please. W4MEC, K4VWD.
Okay, Lee, K4VWD and the Old Friends W4MEC. Good morning, everybody, and I got everything fired up here when Steve was transmitting, so I was putting my list together, so we'll see who came before Steve, if anybody. But everybody's booming in here, great signals this morning. The only thing of note is I caught up with Ken, W4HKZ, who was up here on a family outing to the Bay Breeze Fish Restaurant. And I got that Alpha 78 from him to look at, so I ended up offering to see what I could find wrong with the thing, and it worked out that he was up here yesterday, so I only had to go 5 miles instead of 50, so that makes it real nice. So that's about it. So back to you, Lee, K4VWD, W4MEC.
Okay, Charlie, well, you're pegging the estimator here in Greenville. This is K4VWD. And, buddy, I'm curious about Charlie's ART-13. You got an RF meter coming, and I wonder where you got it. I'm curious about that. Not that I want one, I'm just curious about where you got it coming from. And let's see, I want to say that it seemed like to me all our prayers were answered when it comes to Dave and his operation. So I sure hope he's doing well. And let's see. Steve, the little receiver you built for me is interesting as it warms up. You know, it climbs pretty fast in frequency as you leave it on for a while, and when it gets to the top, it starts going back down again. So I don't know that I've ever had a receiver before that went both directions, but this one does. It goes up in frequency when you first turn it on, and then when it gets up there, it starts coming back down. So it's kind of interesting. And one more standby. Does anybody want to join us? Don't hear any, so we'll make this the 73 round. So, Steve, go ahead. N4LQ in the group, K4VWD.
Okay, K4VWD in the group. N4LQ. Well, that Tentec, that uses a potentiometer for the VFO control that changes the voltage on a Varicap, and I guess the voltage regulation affects it, the temperature affects it, and everything else. So it's not exactly all that stable, and I don't think it ever will quit drifting, but that's the way it works. And let's see, Cliff, okay on your navigator. That's interesting. Maybe somebody went in there and tightened up all those little screws in those coils. Sounds pretty bad, but I'm sure you'll get that straightened out pretty good and okay on the meter. Well, it's a mixed. I have mixed feelings about the meter. But the one I have here, somebody swapped it out with a meter that isn't much better, just a tiny bit better, and it still bounces around like crazy until it settles down. And when I bought it, the guy gave me another brand new meter that looks like a much better quality meter, but it's still the wrong one. It'll fit in there. But as bad as it is, I'd still like to have the original meter. And if I could find one, I'd get it and stick it in there and just put up with it, because it's a pristine condition except for that. And I never was all that big of an antiquity type perfection guy, but that would be one rig that would be nice to have the right meter in. Let's see, was there anything else I had here? I don't think there is. Like I said, I'm on the DX-60. I hooked this up yesterday, and this morning on the 3885 I hooked up the Novo 75, the little QRP rig, and ran that into the solid state amplifier. I was getting about 150 watts carrier power out of that thing. But I was told that my audio lacked punch, so I turned it off and went back to the DX-60. But if that's all that's wrong, that's not too bad, I guess. It could be used as your main rig if that's all you had. For what, $100 or whatever, they just didn't cost much. Pretty neat little kit, really. Transceiver. So this being the 73 round, I will do so. Say 73s to everybody, and according to my precise calculations, our next net will be on Sunday evening at 6:30. Hope to see you all there. Over to Stefan, if you're still around. NC40N, N4LQ.
Break. Steve, what VFO are you using with your DX-60? Over.
It's the N3ZI DDS that I built into it.
Who manufactures that?
N3ZI, but he's no longer doing it.
Roger, thank you very much. Take it away, Stefan. KZ4B clear.
Yeah, Roger, John, KZ4B there. Good morning, and good to hear you after a long time, and always happy to participate here in the net. Thank you, Lee, for doing the net. Steve, there was a little bit QSB there, and it came back right up. So band conditions are indeed not optimum today, but I can hear everybody, no problem. And all right, so I'll make this my last one too as well. 73s to all of you. Have a good weekend coming up, and looking forward to maybe next week sometime. All right, over to you, buddy. And again, Lee, thank you for the net, doing the net this morning. Over to you, buddy. WB4ARK, NC40N, 73s.
NC40N, WB4ARK. Okay, Stefan, you took a slight fade there at the end. Regarding the ART13, Charlie, you mentioned something on the last net on Tuesday that you might be swinging by this way to visit someone or pick up some equipment, and you might come by and pick up your ART13. I was wondering what the situation was with that. And does anybody know anything about the Rock Hill Ham Fest? I haven't looked it up, but I think it should be coming up soon. The meters that have a lot of swing in their movement don't have much dampening, or the shunt across the meter has either deteriorated or has become non-existent. So that's what keeps the meter from oscillating significantly. Now, a voltmeter will do that because it doesn't have a shunt, but an ammeter has a shunt. That's a resistor of a certain value across the meter, either to set the level that the meter can go to, and that will keep the meter from oscillating back and forth when you apply a current to it. So I don't know exactly how the meter is used in the circuit, whether it's measuring voltage or current or both. Some meters that Collins used measured both, and in one situation they had a shunt, and another situation they had a series resistor, which is used with a voltmeter. So you might want to look into that, but before you measure the resistance of the meter, be very cautious of putting an ohm meter across the meter, because you could damage the movement or even bend the pointer. So you would want to take precautions and do it with a specified circuit that you could build up very quickly with a potentiometer and a very low voltage, like maybe 1.5 volts. So with that, we'll say 73, and thanks Lee for doing the net today, and we'll turn it over to Brian, KN4R, WB4ARK.
Okay, buddy, very good. WB4ARK in the group, KN4R for the 73 round. Well, very good. And we did have a CME happening there. You dropped down, but still Q5 here. And Stefan, regarding your audio, we just need to have a pre-net with you just to make sure everything's set up before the real net starts. So, and very good on the navigator discussion and the meter discussion. That's terrific. I know those old meters were fragile, and you wanted to protect them, you know. So, let's see. Buddy, look, I just looked it up on the web. The Rock Hill Ham Fest for this year is October 7th, and it's at the Covenant Presbyterian Church. And I'm not exactly sure if that's the same place as it was last year or a few years ago, but I'll have to look that up. But anyway, I guess that's about it. Cliff, thanks for the Kutztown update, and I'm glad it's a growing situation. I'd love to get up there. And I think there's also one down in Georgia that's somehow related, but it's not as big as Kutztown, because I drove by it one time. Maybe it was in Florida, and it was going on, and we were having to hurry back, so I couldn't go. But I looked it up, and it was like the Kutztown of the South. But again, I've never attended either one, but I'd like to. So anyway, I'll say 73s. Enjoyed it. Everybody have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you on Sunday. So back to you, Cliff. WB4NKL in the group, KN4R 73s.
Yeah, KN4R, WB4NKL. Yeah, that they have it at a Renninger's. It's a regular flea market type outfit, and they have one of those in Florida also. But they have specialty meats like this radio deal they do twice a year, and they have other meets on other weekends, other specialties. And they tried the radio thing down in Florida, but it never did take off like the one in Kutztown. So I don't even know if they're still trying to do that or not, Brian, but it just never did catch wind and go like the Pennsylvania deal. I never did attend it, but I read about it, and it just just never did get the attendance. And buddy, on the meter, the shunts are all right. They're measuring the plate current and the grid current, and the shunts are right on. But it's notorious for being that way from day one, from what I've read on the internet. They just use the cheap meter. I think they're iron vane, or they're not a regular moving coil type meter. I know Heathkit used one in their T50 transmitter, and ICO used them, and they were all, that was the characteristics of them. You keyed and they just swing back and forth, and finally settle down. But I don't think there's any hope for fixing them. So 73s, and thanks for calling it, Lee, and I guess it goes to Charlie. I think he jumped back in. W4MEC, WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff, W4NKL. Any old friends, W4MEC. Just a couple quick comments there. Buddy, I will not be able to make it for at least a week now, so I won't mark it off, but be at least a week. My wife's returning today from Myrtle Beach, where she's been down there since Thursday, and she's coming back for a day, riding back with her friend who is leaving the beach today, and when she comes back up here, she's going back down there with her Suburban, the good vehicle. So that leaves me with my pickup truck, which is posing a couple interesting issues here. So I'm going to have to skip making that trip in my truck. So that's going to cut that off till she gets back the following week. Let's see. The drift thing about going up and then coming back down, that reminds me of my Heathkit Lafayette HA460 6-meter rig. It's got two separate VFOs in it, one for transmit, one for receive, and I've watched the transmit VFO when I make a old buzzer transmission, and it stays right on frequency. But I guess it's the PA tube or just the overall heat coming up during the transmission that makes the receiver drift. And when I go back to receive, the receive station will be off frequency, and I got to touch up the tuning, and as it settles back down, I have to keep touching it up until it goes back to where it was. So, but when it's basically warm, or if I just make a short transmission, there's no problem. The receiver doesn't drift at all. It's just on a long transmission that something warms up there. The meter, I was curious if you shine a light in it, if you see two springs, one in the front and one in the back. They're usually wound counter to each other to keep that from happening, but I bet you the inexpensive meter doesn't have but one spring in the front there. The Konar Model 400 was notorious for that. As a matter of fact, it wiggled so much when you keyed it, the meter would slam to the pin. On the high end, it was about a 100 milliamp meter, and you tuned it to about 75. So when you were doing CW, that thing was clanking around inside that case and wiggling like crazy. But if you held the key down, it would settle down, and you could get a plate current reading. And last but not least was a DX-100B I got. My first one I had quite a few years ago. I brought it back from Arkansas when I visited my aunt over there in Stuttgart. And when I got it here and put it on the bench, the VFO in that is it's 360 degrees, and the tuning knob goes around. And the dial is also got on each half has got a couple of the bands are on both halves. Well, that thing was way off frequency because the fellow had used the wrong half of the tuning dial to line up the VFO, so it was good on one band, but all the other bands were way off. So, and I scratched my head on that one for a while until I said, "I wonder." I tuned it around to the other dial and tried again, and sure enough, that's all it took. So that was an interesting problem with that. So thanks for letting me in today. Very late here, Lee, and we will. Look for everybody on Sunday. And 7-3, y'all be good. K4VWD and the group, W4MEC.
Break.
Go ahead, buddy.
I didn't answer your question about where I got the meter from. It's a Weston meter. and it's a type NT-33. It's a 0 to 250 MA meter with a thermocouple in it, and it's a regular RF ammeter that they used on the ART-13s, and I got it from the internet. Over.
Okay, bought it off the internet. All right, buddy. Well, boy, I'll tell you one thing. That ART-13 sure sounds good. Charlie's going to get a good one, that's for sure. And by the way, I still got 2 female hummingbirds. I had a male about 3 weeks ago, but he's gone. But these 2 females are still here chasing each other. Do we have anybody with any final comments? If so, call me now.
We have hummingbirds here also, Lee.
Okay, buddy, thank you. Anybody else with final comments? Well, I'll say 7-3, God bless. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We had 10 here this morning, so that was a good net, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I look forward to talking to you again come Sunday evening. And so 7-3, God bless. Take care. K4VWD is now closing the old friend's net. So long.